was about five years ago or so. Went through a breakup, a marriage breakup. At the time, it was my decision to break up, and the friends around me that I'd had for many years, some of them had questioned whether I was doing the right thing, and sort of seeing my sister go through counselling, and a couple of friends over the years have success with counselling or therapy. It was like the first thing I knew I needed to go. I knew I needed some help because to me, understanding that therapy was so good and so good for others around me was an easy option for me.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Dr. Sheri Jacobson, and this is Therapy Lab, a podcast dedicated to demystifying therapy, mental health, and the art of well-being. In this episode, we are joined by fashion house creator Sam Wren to talk about his personal experiences. Hello, Sam.
Hi, how you doing?
Very good, thank you. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
How are you doing?
Very good. I've got as you know, I've got a 3-year-old, and we're very busy with her. So we, as I say we, myself, my partner Stacey, and my daughter Scarlett, the three of us, we're working together to make a brand and build something that we find very important, which is discussing mental health. And opening up about how mental health can affect anybody at any time, and to be aware of certain things that you can do or help each other, help yourself to cope and to sort of get on with life, as it were. So we wanted to create a brand that could start conversations around mental health, so that the next generation doesn't have to suffer in silence or don't know what not to do, things like that. So we wanted to, and we're quite passionate about it, but we wanted to create something that we could show Scarlett, that one, if you talk about something a lot, if you believe in something a lot, that you can do something about it, and you can show the world how to do something or help the world change or things like that. So we wanted to sort of start something that she can look up to, but also that we can feel proud of, that we can make a difference as well.
And as you know, we work together, so we'll get on to that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I'm obviously a huge advocate of the work that you do, and proudly sporting your fantastic clothing. Well, from an aesthetic point of view, I find them very appealing. Most of them have a large, like a capital B, and then underneath it, brave, kind, and strong.
Yeah, that's right.
Lively colors is what I'm wearing, the yellow one now. It's one of my favorites. My hoodie's over there.
Yeah.
Great quality and ethically sourced materials. How did you have experience in the clothing industry before starting up?
We didn't, if I'm honest with you, no. We didn't. We're both quite, or Stacey's more fashion conscious, I guess, but we wanted it to be something that if through our sort of backgrounds, if you've struggled with either mental illness or depression or something along those sort of lines, that you could even, look to your wardrobe to know that you've got something that's going to remind you that today you can be brave, or today you can, like I've got on Be Kind, you can be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and have that sort of thing there, that that there's a community behind us wearing this as well, that it just sort of empowers you a bit more, I think. But yeah, no, we didn't really have any background in the clothing industry, and we thought we knew how much we needed to know, and we've learned so much more. It's ridiculous, the amount that, but that's the fun thing for us. It's the working it out and getting it right, and as you say, it's the casual range that we do is 100% organic cotton, recycled plastics in the hoodies. We plant a tree for every order that's made, not in our garden. Luckily, we've not got a big house, but we work with a charity that does that. And then we donate a portion of our profits to Mind Mental Health Charity as well, which it's just pushing the message out further that we're trying to do what we can to help out as well. Through the clothing, I guess.
And you're very active on social media. In fact, I'm impressed and intrigued as to how you are so open. You do a lot of like video casts, and I almost know you through. We know each other through online. This is the first time we've met. Is that your personality? Have you always been very open, or is it something that you've come to be over time?
So I've always been quite open. Social media, not necessarily that open on social media, but it's one of those things where. So I used to run until last year. I used to run a fitness company, like personal training stuff. So I've always been able to talk to people and quite comfortable talking to groups of people or people. But the social media aspect of it is quite interesting. The dynamic that when you put something out there, people then respond and they want to post stuff, or they come to you and say, "Can I share my message?" And it's. I feel that now, to help other people share their message, the more we share, the more sort of we're taking that step to show them that it's okay to talk about it. And so we're getting a lot more confident doing that, which is quite fun as well. Actually, I quite like it. And as you say, you do get to know people a lot better through posting stories and things like that. So.
And your view on the stigma of stigma of mental health, has that evolved in the time that you've been working on it, or?
Yeah, it has, I think. Because we're trying to do what we feel is right. We sort of look into, whilst we're researching more about it, it's kind of opened more avenues of where there are stigmas, where we didn't even know there were stigmas, or it's confirmed that some people feel more of a stigma about certain things. And it's really interesting, especially because now we've got Scarlett as well, is how much it also meant to me growing up not knowing that sort of stuff,
right?
Compared to what Scarlett's going through already at nursery. They're talking about mental health, and even in just small bits, but just educating. It's amazing, and it's nice to see that it's starting at an early age, and it's really nice.
Yeah, agreed. What was it like for you growing up?
So I had a great childhood. The first sort of knowledge to me of mental health even as a thing, really, I think was with my sister. She's a couple of years younger than me. We're both now in our 30s, but she had struggles with OCD that got worse over her childhood, and then panic attacks that sort of turned into more moments where it was like seizures almost. And at school, it was a relief in a way that we're both at the same school, because I would be called out of a lesson when she was struggling, because she felt that I was the closest person to her. So we didn't have to call mum and dad out of work. We could sort of get through it together. And a lot of the teachers at the time I felt a stigma, because a lot of them would turn their noses up, like, "Oh, you're missing another lesson to look after your sister." And it was really quite harsh. But there were some teachers that were absolutely fantastic that would say, "Right, Sam, I know neither of you two know what to do to get her out of this and to calm her down or to relax her, but this is our experience. So if you try this, if you try that." And it was, rather than them taking the rather than them showing any panic or anything, they were cool about it. They said, "Right, Sam, if you do this, this might help her," and you talk her through stuff, and it was like a breath of fresh air, really. It was really nice, and that was for a couple of years at school. She missed quite a bit of school, but it was my first experience going through it with her, kind of thing. And then her going through therapy to understand why these attacks were happening, or why certain things were happening to her, or why she was feeling certain ways. That was again something that, because we hadn't really grown up knowing too much about mental health, being aware of it or what it meant or anything like that, to see that somebody external could help and could really help, and change her life. And however slow it was, it was progress. You know, it was always helping. So it was educational, I guess, but it was I was grateful to be there with her at the same time to try and help her. And for me, my first experience of mental health, age 13, 15, somewhere around there. Whereas now Scarlett is 3 and we're reading her books about mental health, and it's just already a massive difference. So I think it will help a lot. But.
So your early experience of therapy was as an observer, seeing your sister benefit from it. Have you had any experiences of therapy?
I have, yeah. So when I was about 5 years ago or so, went through a breakup, a marriage breakup. It was at the time it was my decision to break up, and the reason I felt I needed some extra help was because I suppose the friends around me that I'd had for many years, some of them had questioned whether I was doing the right thing, whether my decisions were right. She was a lovely person, you know, why and all this, rather than sort of supporting and just trying to understand what I was going through or why, just trying to go through how I was feeling. Although and to me, I've always trying to be a kind person, and throughout my life trying to do everything for everybody else. And it felt that although it was a selfish thing to do, because I felt like I needed to be away from that, that some of the support around me was questioning what I was doing, which was in my head feeling like, or maybe they're right, maybe. So the great thing, my family are incredible, a couple of close friends that are really, really good, and sort of seeing my sister go through counselling, and a couple of friends over the years have success with counselling or therapy. It was like the first thing I needed. I knew I needed to go. I knew I needed some help because I just felt too confused about what was going on, really. And then over time, seeing the therapist that I did, she was amazing. We sort of quickly established whether or not it was definitely the right choice, which it was. And then trying to understand who I was or why I was thinking certain things, and sort of building from there. And by that point, then I'd also met Stacey, and she'd gone through similar things, similar sort of breakup. And talking to her was then also something that was quite comfortable, whereas before I hadn't spoke about deep thing, or what I felt like deep things, with anybody else that I knew. So that then we then grew and went from there as well. But yeah, to me, understanding that therapy was so good, and so good for others around me, was an easy option for me.
Yeah. And as a newcomer to therapy, obviously you'd observed it secondhand, but how did you come across the therapist? How did you get to them? How long was it? And any other details about the therapy that were relevant to you?
Yeah, so actually I'd also done some couples counselling when we were still married. But for my own self, when I met with that person, it was actually my sister who recommended her, and she said, "Look, she doesn't know anything about your life. I've not spoke to her anything about you. So my issues are with something else. So she has no idea really, apart from you are my brother, that anything that's going on." So, but I think she would suit quite well with you. So I was like, okay, well, I'm more than happy to try. And I understood, because she's been through a few different therapists, that if we don't match, we don't match. We talk to somebody else. It's not the end of the road. It's which I think is quite important as well to sort of understand. But she, she was lovely. Like the first time we spoke, it almost felt like you've known her for years. It was incredible. I was just like, oh wow, is this really what it's like? This is amazing. So I think I was quite fortunate in that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily always the case, but and so it went on for a good few months, talking once a week, going to, it was at her house, and yeah, it was to me in my head, although that time in my life was quite fuzzy, because I didn't know if I was coming or going, and things were going on, but that was really clear. That was quite a clear time for me, and it was a bit of sunshine, I guess, in life. It was quite, it was yeah, I really appreciated it.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Therapy Lab. If you feel ready to transform your life with therapy, we're offering 10% off a first session with any therapist on harleytherapy.com to our listeners. Just use the code TherapyLab when you book your session on harleytherapy.com. Now, the difference between listening to understand and listening to respond, quoting you, tell us a bit more about that.
So yeah, so that's I think where I'm quite, I feel that I'm quite when I've got something that I want to do, I'm quite clear in how I want to do it, and I'll do it. But having somebody there that, as you say, would listen to actually understand you, rather than, okay, yeah, you've said what you've said, but here's my response, and almost preempting, which, you know, everybody does it sometimes, but the difference is massive of having somebody there that is listening to understand, compared to somebody that's listening there to get their point across, or how they feel about what you've done, or where you're going, or whatever the situation is. I think is day and night, really. And even if you've got one or two people in your life that can listen to you to understand, you're laughing, really. It's it's really good.
So it's not only a quality that's reserved for the therapy room, it's also that something you think people can cultivate towards their loved ones and
definitely
colleagues as well.
Yeah, sure. So Stacey, she's been through, she won't mind me, we've discussed this, she won't mind me saying it, but with her, once she had Scarlet, I think the understanding is, with social media, is look how perfect everybody's life is, and look how great our life is, and what a connection we've got with everybody, and how wonderful stuff is. But she struggled with postnatal depression, and although I feel I'm not going through the same thing as her, or I wasn't going through the same thing, we understood each other. We're on a level where we could get through it, and it was something that she spoke to me about, and we discussed on almost a daily basis, and sort of having somebody there, whether it's myself or somebody else, or somebody around you, that, not necessarily a therapist, but somebody around you that can go through it with you and believe you and understand you, that you of course you love the child, the person, or whatever it might be, of course you do, but you can still struggle, and it can still be really hard, and it can still just sometimes be really bloody difficult. You know, it's I think that really helps. And she's the same with me. It's like she understands, or has the ability to understand what you're going through, to then go, right, okay, then how do we move forward from this, or why is it the case, and it's just, I think if you can have somebody, again, if it's a loved one, a therapist, a relative, that can sit with you on a similar level and just talk it out and come up with a plan or something. Just understand it, and actually what you're going through is awful or is difficult, or but there is a way through, and let's try and get there. Can be amazing, really. Yeah.
So really, obviously, very interesting subject matter about how to support someone with going through psychological difficulties. You know, especially if it's not directly relatable, like postnatal depression, or even one person's experience of anxiety is very different to another's.
Yeah.
So your tips for that, of how to offer support, is obviously the active listening.
Yeah.
And then some, like, working on it together is...
For me, for me and Stacey, that certainly works. As you say, working together to say, okay, right, so you see with, let's say, postnatal depression, you see online that all of your friends around you are having a fantastic time. Their babies sleep all the way through from day one. Everything's easy. They never have any difficulties. You never argue, all that sort of stuff. But then being a bit more real and being like, but it's okay to have a rubbish day, or it's okay for it to be 6 months of really difficult times when none of you got any sleep and you're all snapping, and that's fine. Like, that's it. It happens. Like, and I think as we go through, I mean, Scarlett's only 3 now, but as we go through, we're learning more sort of areas. We're not mental health professionals, but we're learning more areas where other people may struggle, and it's sort of showing them that actually life can be tough, and it's fine to be tough, and people won't or shouldn't look down on you if you're saying, I've had a really bad day. It sucks to have a bad day, but it happens, and I don't know, I think it's something that we need to talk more about, I feel. And a part of it as well is having, I guess, again, with the BBrave stuff, is showing people that, we smile on photos and we've got a beautiful family and we're very happy, but we also have struggles, and we have struggled and we do struggle. And part of being kind to yourselves or being brave is showing that, and getting through it as a family or as friends or, you know, whoever. And trying to get through it together if you can, if you've got somebody there. I think there's a lot in that.
So you're very active on the mental health awareness, getting it out, showing by example as well. Also, you're a big advocate of therapy. You've had the experience of it, but you've very kindly, we've teamed up whereby when you send out orders, you give out this very lovely, graphically designed leaflet, which is essentially promoting our site, where it's therapists online, not only online but in person. But you seemed to be really passionate about signposting people to sources of support. And I wonder what's behind that.
So really, going back to when I felt I was struggling, the first person I spoke to was my sister. I was like, okay, Amy, what do you know anybody? That's got to be the first place to start. And as soon as we came across you guys, seeing that your website has reviews from people saying, you know, this, we interacted on day one, or this happened, or they're very good at this area. To me was, if Amy's therapist hadn't have worked with me, I'd have found somebody else. And for me, I already believed in the system that you don't necessarily find the first person you see. I believed in that anyway, so that for me was okay. But other people that I've spoke to over the years have gone, right, this is my big day, I'm now going to see somebody. They didn't get on, or they felt that for whatever reason they just didn't get on. And they'd almost gone in the mindset of, well, that's it. It didn't work. So that's sort of throw that out. And having something like what you guys do is almost like all your friends being online saying, this one worked for me because of this reason, and this one worked for me because of this reason. And you're almost sort of 10 steps ahead in finding the right therapist. So for us, we instantly believed in the idea of what you guys do, because it's just going to help so many people. So we're just like, straight on it. It's why doesn't everybody know about this yet? So it's for us, it's something that we believe in, but on a deeper level of, you know, there's so much out there that you can, and with you guys, you can meet them in person, online, over the phone. So it then ticks a lot of boxes for even more people. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, we're so grateful for the support, and obviously we mutually root for each other's services and products.
Sure.
What else is part of your well-being repertoire? So the therapy when you need to, and obviously the social support. What else keeps you well?
So I have a daytime job as well, and a lot of what keeps us happy and well, and keeps me well, is long drives. I love a 2-3 hour drive all day long. Put on a podcast, just listen to music, sing loud, just think, and just drive. But I also love traveling, whether it be in this country. I guess that's why I don't mind the 2-3 hour drives to the office every now and then. But also traveling the world, learning different cultures. And I guess the third is the scuba diving side of things, which I picked up sort of 6 or so years ago, because they're just sort of being completely weightless, having no sound, no noise, and just being in almost another world, not to get away from anything normally, but just to be somewhere else, and just to soak up something completely different, is for me is just magic. It's wicked.
And on your T-shirt, you've also got on the side scuba travel.
Yeah.
What's your involvement with scuba travel?
So this is my daytime job as well. So I've worked for them now for just over 3 years. And scuba travel is what it says on the tin. We sell scuba diving holidays. But and it's great because I get to talk to people all day long about traveling and scuba diving. So 2 out of the 3, I'm very happy. But the involvement with BBrave is that my boss, or my director, she is sort of seeing the work that we're doing, and she wants to get more involved in the of showing people how good diving can be for your mental health, and how it can be an escape, and how it can be something that's very good for your mental health. So we're teaming up, working together to one, show each other what each other does, but then also we're going to have like big designs on the back of like underwater photography ideas. We're coming up with some ideas at the minute, but yeah, sort of trying to link the two together to reach, to spread the same message and support different charities in the underwater world and mental health.
That's a great one. Well-being through scuba.
Yeah.
Any advice for someone who's not so keen underwater? It's just kind of this submerged fear in some way.
Yeah. So I've been very lucky over my life to have travelled around parts of the world. But there's so much to even if you're snorkeling, to see. Like we went to the Maldives, and you could spend the whole entire week just looking in 2-3 meters of water and see as much as you could if you were 30 meters down. There's some places that you can just, it's just incredible. And just floating in water, I sink like a stone, so I'm quite good at scuba diving, but I've never been great at swimming. That was my main fear, was I can't swim very well.
Right.
What happens scuba diving, like? But yeah, you're weighted correctly, and it's just dead easy. But yeah, it's to me, it's and over sort of overcoming that fear of the being a bad swimmer and things like that was actually quite. It was weird. It felt difficult, but it also felt quite liberating to try it. So it was a strange one, really. But it was now I can dive. It's magic to see an underwater world that it is so different. Like you're like floating through you're not touching anything. It just still blows my mind. It's amazing. So it's well worth giving it a try. And if not, then there's plenty of snorkeling to do. If not, so.
Yeah. And when you don't have access to open water,
Yeah.
what do you do for exercise?
So we're quite active. So I used to run the fitness classes. So not as active now as I was for the last 8 years or so. But we like to go on like bike rides. Scarlett at the minute, she's still a little bit small to ride the bike any distance that we're riding. So she's on the back watching an iPad or something, or taking pictures or stuff. But we like to go on bike rides together as a family, and just go at a steady pace and just be outside together. I think is sort of enjoy that time together, and we're starting to go to the gym together and things as well. So it's sort of sharing that experience for me. I think is quite fun.
And so, speaking of children, what is important for you in life?
That's a big question.
Starts with children if you want.
It does, doesn't it? So in the for me, and really, I think is to show Scarlett really that I think I've said it already, but is if you can think of something and you spend so much time thinking about wanting to do something, of actually doing it is what it's about. It's great to spread messages, but if you can also do something that's going to spread it to 100 people, or then they'll spread it to further and further and further, I think it's it's just amazing, really. So we just want to inspire her, but also the next generation, that if you can be brave enough, or if you can take that step, even if you don't know how many steps you need to take to get to where you want to be, the first 2, 3, 4 steps start building that momentum. And I heard a quote the other day that momentum is the hardest thing to gain, but the easiest thing to lose. So just keep moving, just keep going, and keep thinking about what you're trying to achieve, and it can and like celebrate the little wins, because I suppose with us as well is you sort of look back and think, wow, although we only started sort of last summer, we've come a really long way, and we've reached a fair amount of people. But along that way, it's celebrating all the very small wins, and sort of all the what we call the little wins, so that when you get to something like this, I mean, we're on a podcast. Like, to us, this is a massive deal. It feels natural that is the next step, and it's really cool, sort of documenting where we've come, but also then celebrating it of sort of each step of the way.
Yeah. Well, definitely worth celebrating, because I think you're a living embodiment of the movement and all that you stand for, as well as being very funky t-shirts. Where can people buy them? Where can people reach you and follow you and help spread the word?
So BBraveclothing.com. The website itself is the letter B, braveclothing.com. We also own BE, so if you spell it wrong, it doesn't matter. So you'll still find us. And on Instagram, it's BBraveClothing UK. But yeah, online is the easiest place these days. We hand print all the tops, so they're, as we get an order, we then get the stock in, so that we're not wasting stock by having. I mean, we've not got a huge house, so we couldn't stack the room full of t-shirts anyway. But it allows us then to sort of have different ranges, like the sports range of the Lycra and the sports tops and things. It allows us to have more options, so we don't have to have 20 in each size and each colour, and just have a house full of t-shirts and wasting materials. So online is fantastic. Jump on the website, really, and find us on social media. We try and share as well, like if on our Instagram, if anybody's got a story about mental health or a mental health success story, something like that they would like, or they're ready to share, then we would be more than happy to share it. So we're encouraging people to do that, and we've had so many people already sharing their stories, which is amazing. It's really nice to see.
Exactly what you set out to do.
That's it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sam.
Thank you.
And wishing you well.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Therapy Lab. To find private, affordable therapy in person around the UK or online by video from around the world, visit harleytherapy.com today to start therapy as soon as tomorrow. If this is your first listen to Therapy Lab, do hit subscribe to keep up to date with new episodes. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and all good platforms.